Hey everyone, welcome back to the Incredible India podcast series. I'm Sam,
And I'm Taylor.
and for today's deep dive, we're heading to the spectacular western edge of the country,
That's right, where the Arabian Sea meets the land. Coastal Karnataka.
a region that is just bursting with culture.
It really is. And our sources for this deep dive, they focus so intensely on what we call living traditions. We're not looking at, static history or artifacts locked behind glass.
Right.
We're really examining these cultural expressions of memory, of belief that are performed in real time, and they're still evolving.
That was the thing that really stood out for me, the idea that this art is central to community life, not just something staged for visitors. So I think our mission here is to really understand art that is, as one source put it, lived, not scheduled.
That's the perfect framing, because when you immerse yourself in coastal Karnataka, the art is the social fabric. It's inseparable.
So where do we even begin?
Well, if we want to start at the absolute epicenter of this vibrant culture, we have to begin with Yakshagana, the night-long dance drama.
Okay, let's unpack this. The term night long,
Yeah.
I mean, that really jumps out at you.
It does.
It makes Yakshagana sound less like, a show you just go watch for an hour and a half, and more like a total commitment,
Yeah.
physically and intellectually.
That's it, exactly. That sustained duration, it changes everything about the audience's relationship to the material. It's an immersion, not a glance.
So what is it exactly?
Yakshagana is this magnificent blend of rhythmic dance, really emotional dialogue, elaborate costumes, and live pulsating music. Its roots go deep, back to at least the 16th century.
And the stories are from the big epics, right? The Ramayana, the Mahabharata.
Exactly, the great epics and the Puranic legends. So the performance holds the community captive for the entire night because the stakes in these stories are just so high and the delivery is unbelievably dynamic.
Here's what I found fascinating from a structural point of view. It's unscripted.
Right.
You have this huge narrative running all night, but there's no rigid script.
Yeah.
So how do they keep it on track? How does the moral lesson not just get lost in all that improvisation?
That's the genius of the system. The anchor, the conductor, is the Bhagavatha.
The lead singer.
The lead singer narrator, yes.
Yeah.
They guide the whole story through complex, sung verse. They set the scene, they introduce the plot points, and they keep that narrative structure firm. And all the while, the drummers are maintaining this relentless, powerful, rhythmic pulse. It's like a constant heartbeat for the action.
So the music and the song set the backbone, but the actual debate, the dialogue, that's all up to the actors.
Precisely. Within those parameters, the characters, whether they're, powerful demons or righteous gods, they have the freedom to debate, to philosophize, to clash.
For how long?
They can improvise their dialogue for 20, even 30 minutes on a single moral point. They can respond to the audience, even weave in contemporary references. That spontaneous debate is the real engine of the performance.
Which makes it so much more than just entertainment.
Absolutely. Anthropologists who study this region always note its vital dual function. It's entertainment, yes, but it's also a communal classroom.
A classroom for what?
For exploring the greatest philosophical concepts of Indian tradition. We're talking about massive ideas: justice, ego, devotion, and the critical nature of dharma, or duty. You see these ancient moral dilemmas played out in real time.
And the visual side of it has to be just as communicative, I imagine, to follow these huge debates all night. The sources spent a lot of time on costumes.
They're more than just decoration. They are visual encoding devices. The heavy sculpted masks, the towering headgear, the painted faces.
They visually tell you who the character is.
Instantly. You can distinguish the virtuous hero from the arrogant antagonist, even if you don't speak the language or know the specific legends being performed. It's of a full sensory experience.
One source described it as something that seeps into memory. You're in a village, there's a sea breeze, children are asleep at the side, but the elders are completely engaged, debating the plot points. It feels like the story never really ends when the sun comes up.
And that's that element of continuity we're looking for. It's woven into the memory of the land itself.
Speaking of weaving culture into the land, let's shift from the night-long epics to something a bit more visceral. The folk arts tied directly to festivals. I'm thinking about the tiger dance.
Pilavesha, yes. If Yakshagana belongs to the mythological night, Pilavesha belongs entirely to the ecstatic festival day. It just explodes onto the streets during celebrations like Krishna Janmashtami and Dasara.
So this is spectacular physical transformation. This young man, right? They volunteer to have their bodies painted.
They become these literal moving canvases. They use natural pigments, vibrant orange, yellow, black stripes, to embody the tiger.
They become the tiger.
And the performance is just astonishingly athletic. They leap, they stalk through the streets in these incredibly demanding stylized movements. The symbolism here is so potent. The tiger represents raw elemental power, strength, fertility, divine protection.
And that connects back to the anthropological roots, doesn't it? In these agrarian societies, survival is so tied to nature's power. So a ritual like this, it's about harnessing that energy.
It is. It's playful, it's athletic, and it's intensely communal. It's a kind of temporary release, allowing people to shed their daily roles and embody this unbridled energy, which then fuels the joy of the festival.
Okay, so then we move from that explosive joy to something much more serious, a tradition that requires a real shift in perspective for a visitor.
Right.
Bhuta Kushla. The sources describe this as perhaps the most haunting tradition.
Bhuta Kushla is practiced mainly by Tulu-speaking communities, and it centers on the worship of local guardian spirits, the Buddhas. And it is absolutely crucial to understand this is not theater, it's a sacred ritual.
Part dance, part trance.
And part functional mechanism for administering communal justice.
I want to focus on that distinction. So the performer wears these incredibly elaborate costumes, heavy makeup, and they enter an altered state. Our sources stress that at that point, they cease to be the performer and they are the spirit.
The distinction dissolves completely, and that is the pivotal moment. Once that transformation happens, the performer embodies the spirit and they possess divine authority.
So what does that mean in practice? How does it function as a justice system?
Well, this is the community's court. Anthropological research shows this is the forum where grievances are aired publicly. Things that couldn't be solved through normal human argument. A land dispute, a complex inheritance.
Things like that.
Exactly. They are brought before the embodied Buddha. The spirit listens, deliberates, and gives an authoritative, binding judgment.
And because it comes from the divine spirit.
It cannot be contested. It symbolically restores justice and reaffirms the communal structure. It's an ancient, ritualized form of problem solving that is still totally functional.
Which means, for any visitor, the approach has to be one of profound humility.
Exactly. It's about quiet respect. You are witnessing a moment of deep spiritual and civic importance, not a cultural show. It's about knowing when to just step back and observe in silence.
Okay, so if Bhuta Kulsa is about respecting the spiritual guardians, let's transition to the physical landscape, to the ancient environmental ethics embedded in the coast itself. Let's talk about Nagaratani.
Serpent worship. This is one of the clearest physical manifestations of an ancient ecological consciousness you'll find anywhere. The serpent spirits aren't just feared, they are profoundly honored as guardians of water, fertility, and balance.
And the proof of this reverence is the preservation of the Sarpakavu, the sacred groves. What are those exactly?
A Sarpakavu is a patch of dense, untouched forest, often near a home or village, considered the dwelling place of the serpent deities. And crucially, no one is allowed to cut trees, clear undergrowth, or interfere with the ecosystem inside.
So they're like these little pristine islands of biodiversity.
Exactly, in an otherwise heavily farmed or developed landscape. So, by protecting the deity's home, they are, intentionally or not, protecting biodiversity, water retention, local microclimates. It's a deeply spiritual approach to ecology that predates any modern conservation concept.
From the quiet of the groves to pure visceral motion. The environment also plays a central role in the sport of Kambala.
The buffalo race.
The buffalo race.
Yeah.
Taking these water-filled paddy fields and turning them into a roaring arena.
Kambala is unforgettable. It is a spectacle of power. A race where two teams of men with pairs of highly trained buffaloes just thunder through a stretch of muddy, waterlogged field.
But it's not just a sport, right? Like everything else here.
It remains deeply ritualistic. It's tied to the agricultural cycles, often marking the end of the harvest or acting as a form of Thanksgiving. The experience is so visceral. The thunder of hooves, the spray of mud and water, the energy of the crowd is electric.
It's a celebration of that partnership between human strength and the animal world, both vital for survival.
So when you look at this whole sweep of traditions, from the deep moral debate of Yakshagana to the lightning-fast athleticism of Kambala, you see this cultural landscape where every action is just layered with meaning.
And what unites all of them is that idea we started with, continuity. They haven't been reconstructed for tourists. They exist because the communities themselves sustain them, practice them, and rely on them.
And that is the critical takeaway for you as a listener. To truly understand this coast requires time and context and sensitive guidance. You need to know when to watch, where to stand, and sometimes, most importantly, when to simply listen.
It's not a destination you can just check off a list.
Not at all. It's one you have to listen to, wait for, and slowly, respectfully understand.
It demands patience. So as we wrap up, what's the final provocative thought you think our listeners should mull over here?
I think what's truly fascinating is how effectively ancient mythology provides these essential social mechanisms for problem solving today in the modern world. Yakshagana's debate is a space for moral discourse. Bhuta is a mechanism for settling civil disputes. Nagaratani enforces environmental protection.
So they're not just relics.
Not at all. They are functioning, decentralized systems of governance and ethical structure that run parallel to contemporary life. They prove the enduring utility of myth.
That is a brilliant thought to end on. From night-long mythological dramas to spontaneous tiger dances and high-speed buffalo races, Coastal Karnataka really showcases the intensity of India's living culture. If you decide to travel to Karnataka, we have a recommendation. Five Senses Tours organizes tours across India, which are immersive cultural experiences. You can email contact@fivesensetours.com. Note 5 is written as a numeral and contact@fivesensetours.com. Or WhatsApp to +919 845 67446.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.